Welcome back to another MLB breakdown here with Hold the Door DFS and TK Nation. This is Fantasy Sports Insight YouTube DFS free content that we have almost coming at you daily. So hit that subscribe button below, and that will give you a notification when we have new content coming out. Today we are going to go a little bit quicker and try to be more precise, use our time wisely here, and we are going to focus on pitching first. And then we are just going to jump to the games that we're looking to target hitters. And then hopefully that will give you some starting spots to build tomorrow. Obviously, we always know in baseball that, the value comes out, especially with a lot of rotation right now. I think there's more rotation than we're normally seeing. So getting guys all of a sudden in the top of the lineup, is more frequent right now than it has been in the past. So let's jump in. TK, how's it going, man?
Good, Chris. Got a late night sweat with the Houston Astros going off. Hoping my boy Javier gets me through and gets me to win, and maybe I can get Trent Grisham to give me a late night homer for a 20K win. Other than that, we're hoping Coors goes off at the tail end of the game, but it's not looking likely. Marquee looked really sharp tonight, but overall, it's been a fun baseball day, and looking forward to tomorrow as always, because baseball is the gift that keeps on giving.
And one interest, like Marquee, even when I was looking at him at Showdown last year, his splits home to road. I mean, obviously most of them are bad, but I mean, for the guys who have to pitch at Coors, but I mean, his ERA was over 6 at home last year, and it was under 3 on the road. So it's like, but the Giants lineup definitely is prone to strikeouts if they're not going to hit one out. And there was a huge changing point in the game when Duggar hitting 9 hit it off the top of the fence, and they thought it was a home run, ended up being a double. He gets out of the inning. That's how Coors can go so fast. All right, let's get into it. We're going to start with pitching first. TK is going to go through his favorite pitchers. I'll just chime in where it seems right, but I'm going to let him kind of take away the pitchers here, and then we will dive in to the the games that we like the hitters from. So go ahead, TK.
Yeah. So let's start up top with Yu Darvish facing off against KC. Last 2 days, we saw the wind blowing in at least 10 miles per hour in Chicago. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Chicago wind. It's never usually something you can plan for ahead, but the total's already out, so it suggests the weather is going to be the exact same as it was before. Yu Darvish came out strong last time out with 6 innings pitched, only gave up 2 hits, a walk, and 7 Ks. He's 10-4, so he's not too high. He doesn't have a really high price tag on his name. Like I said, 9 total, minus 190 favorite, 11K per 9 pitcher, 45% ground ball rate, and he's got a 13% swinging strike rate on the year. So Yu Darvish is really good for GBPs. Probably going to be too expensive in cash when you got slate with Coors and expensive, bats in the later games that we'll talk about. But yeah, Yu Darvish is good for GPPs. Mike Clevinger is a guy that I'm potentially looking to fade. He hasn't really figured out his stuff yet, but you know what? The Indians are coming off of a big win tonight, and they did have a slide against the Minnesota Twins. So the energy is really high in the dugout. I do like his price tag at 9,200. He is the highest upside per salary on the slate because of his K numbers. You just have to hope that his walks stay low, and he's given up 2 homers in each of his first 2 starts against divisional opponents. Cincinnati, definitely a team that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. It's going to be a decent day, hot day tomorrow in Cleveland. So even if Clevinger gives up a couple homers or maybe a couple runs, if he's walking guys, he's going to be a stay away. If he's striking guys out, he is going to be all over my lineups. Going to be something I determine tomorrow. Could be a start in cash. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on Clevinger?
Oh, I just want to say, it is tough to, get right against the Twins, so like,
yeah,
you got to face Nelson Cruz 4 times. It's hard to, but no, I totally agree with you there. Even tonight when you saw Bieber against Cincinnati, the 2 runs he did give up were just solo shots. So I think similar to Bieber, he's, they're going to have the strikeout potential because they still had, 7 or 8. Bieber still struck out 7 or 8 against that lineup.
Yeah, at 8.
Yeah, but giving up a couple solo shots, you can live with that. So I think that's probably a similar
Right.
scenario with Clevenger, we just know Bieber's a little bit safer, more consistent at the moment. So
Yeah, I think 9,200 though, the price tag is really strong, especially for the K's. It's just like if he's walking guys and then giving up those homers, then you're looking at 5 to 6 runs instead of two. So, yeah, it'll be I'll have to determine tomorrow between Clevenger and the next guy I want to talk about, who is Dylan Bundy, right below him at 9K. Seattle's bats have kind of slowed down since their hot series against the Angels back in LA. Now at home in Seattle, their bats have been slowing down, and Bundy is a completely different pitcher out in Los Angeles. He's throwing more off-speed pitches. He's throwing less fastballs over the plate, so he's giving up less homers. He's walking less. I think he's got 6 Ks, 7 Ks in both games. And he's got he's got a 14% swing and strike rate. So Dylan Bundy's really strong for cash considerations tomorrow. I think it'd only be him or Clevenger to start your cash pitching. I think one of them two, you'll have to make the determination with the high price hitting on the slate. So them two right there is how I would start cash lineups. What are your thoughts on those two pitchers?
yeah, I think that's definitely a great spot. Bundy, is going to continue to see this weak Seattle lineup. So I think, like you said, the form he's in LA against a team that you can just continue to target with pitchers, even if they're a fifth man kind of guy that's just super cheap, Seattle's just going to continue to bleed value to pitching all year, I think.
Right.
So even though I did read some crazy stat this year that like Kyle Seager and Corey Seager have the most hard hit balls out of any players in the entire league.
Both Seagers.
Yeah, like they must have been like training together this summer or something like that. Because then Mookie Betts was the next one, so they're like maybe they're all down in LA.
Yeah, it's got to be a facility in LA doing something.
Or something.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's probably not a lot of like factual support to that, but it was just
Sure.
funny to see the Seager brothers leading the league in the hard hit ball this year. So
Right.
no, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think, like even skipping Ryu up here, man,
Definitely.
the guy just seems so shaky right now in Toronto. I don't even know how he's priced at 9.5. He's not striking guys out. He's given up bombs to Michael A. Taylor in the 9-hole against Washington. I watched that game and it was miserable. So let's move on to Manet against Oakland, if that's somebody you're considering here.
Yeah, but definitely a GPP play for me tomorrow, and only an 8 total -170 favorite, 8,600. A lot of guys are going to be flocking to names like McCullers, Clevenger, and Dylan Bundy. I think they're going to overlook Mania because of that current form. Last two times out, he's gotten abused with 3 runs in each, only 4 Ks, and he's. But the thing is if you look beyond getting touched up a little bit, he has no walks in both of those starts, and he's only given up 1 homer. So it's not like he's given up long balls. It's not like he's putting guys on unintentionally. Intentionally, he's getting dinked and dunked. He's getting babbipped around, as they like to say. So Mania is in a good spot for some positive regression against a weak Texas lineup who, I've kind of been streaming against. A lot of strikeouts in this lineup. Most of their power bats are lefties. Their righties are old. Elvis Andrus is well beyond his prime. This is a spot for Mania to get right at home in a big ballpark against a Texas team that likes to strike out, likes to fly out. So Mania is going to be a big, strong GPP play for me. Definitely high stakes GPP play. I'm going to be feeling really good about that play come tomorrow.
All right. Texas could use like some Adrian Beltre back or something like that.
Yeah, their righties are just not doing anything for their lineup at all.
All right. We got McCullers, Gibson, Hauser, Stripling. Any of these 4 that stick out to you that you want to target?
If I could just group them all together as a whole, I would say that there's a couple viable options in there. I'm not sure if that's somewhere I'm going to go as of tonight, as we record the night before. If I had to pick one out of the group, Hauser would be my favorite. Hauser is, He is a 9K per 9 pitcher, 2.9 walk per 9, so it's slightly high, but he's got a 53% ground ball rate. And then his last start, he went 5 innings, only gave up a homer with 4 Ks. It's not awesome, it's not brilliant, but Hauser does have good stuff. He hasn't seen him pitch before, so I think Keuchel on the other side is going to maybe run into a Brewers team that's going to start trying to figure out how to hit, much like the Indians. We could be looking into some positive regression on the hitters on the other side. So I think I'm more on the side of Hauser. But, like I said, grouping them all together, I'm not sure where I'm going to go there. I'm more in love with the 8K pitchers that we were talking about, and the two, Clevenger and Bundy. And then there's one guy down here that I want to get to, which is part of your home team. That's Randy Dobnik. Dobby, as he goes in the biz, 9 total, minus 150 favorite, 7,200. He's only given up 3 hits in each of his starts. Last time out versus Cleveland, he went 5 innings, had 4 Ks, gave up no runs. He's not a high strikeout pitcher, but he's got a 52% ground ball rate. Dobnik's going to have some run support to back him, so he could be in line for the win. And I think people underestimate the value of the win, especially for these pitchers that can only go 5 innings, 6 innings. They don't have the high K numbers, but that extra 4 points, or if on FanDuel you get the extra 6 plus the quality start, if they can make it to 6, I think that really separates themselves instead of guys like Keuchel, who may give up 3 or 4 runs and only strike out the same amount of batters. So guys that going to get a lot of run support are guys that I like for value plays, and Dobnik kind of fits that build. What do you think about the range that we just talked about here in the 7K? Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I think Dobnik, as you said, somebody that you can stream that might just limit damage, not have a super high K rate, but should get the win. I think he's definitely in play. Other than that, I kind of always stay away from Stripling because I'm worried about the short leash. I know he's had some good starts and whatever, but that's not really his long-term form. So I don't really buy it yet, especially on the road against a good Padres team. Keuchel, I just not somebody to ever target just because the K rate since his injury and coming back has just been so awfully brutal. Like, I don't even think he'll ever get anywhere near where he used to be. He's throwing, 89, 90, and it's just not.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah. So, after I think down to Dobnik, then I think, we really get into some dicey areas besides. Seems like every time we record, Marco Gonzalez is pitching, and your value crush in Gonzalez. I assume I don't want to miss John Gray here. I know it's at Coors, but if you saw what Marquis did tonight, 7K might just be a little bit too expensive. Like if Gray was like 6,000, he does have some strikeout upside.
Yeah, I could do that at 6K, 7.
But I 7K is a little bit risky, but I don't not love Gray. I like the hitters better.
Yeah, I'm more on board with the giant lefties than you are. I think I should have had a better understanding of where Marquis was in form before I started rostering him tonight. But John Gray does give up a lot of hard contact to lefties. Giants have a lot of lefty power, so I kind of want to avoid that at 7K. But yeah, like you said, if he was cheaper, down there in the 6-5K range, then we're talking business for GPPs. But I don't know for that price. Marco Gonzalez, not the spot. Trout's coming off some baby swag. He's already got a homer tonight, so I'm not targeting Marco. I like him, but not tomorrow.
All right. Any last dumpster dives other than Robbie Ray, who needs to be saved from his career falling apart? Anybody else you like here?
Yeah, not targeting Robbie Ray against the Astros. Definitely not. I have one, and that is Mr. Anton for the Cincinnati Reds. The Indians, like I said earlier, were struggling. TJ, yeah, look at this guy. 4K. You can't beat min price for a guy who is an actual starter and not just somebody who's going to open up. Cleveland's been really struggling at the dish. It's an 8 total, so it's already suggesting that this pitching duel can provide some value. In the AAA last year, he was 8K per nine. He does have a high walk per nine at 3.8, and he's got a 51% ground ball rate, 11 swinging strike rate, so he does miss some bats as well. He's only a plus 120 underdog at 4K. I think, and to boot, last time out, 4 innings pitched, he only gave up the homer, and he had 5 Ks against the Cubs, a good Cubs team. So I think TJ Anton is well in play. Some would say he would be a decent cash option. I know that's a stretch, but if he's going to do the exact same, maybe the Indians' bottom half of the lineup is just bad, just historically bad right now. Aluplo, Zimmer, Daniel Johnson, besides Franmil hitting a homer tonight, like he's been really bad, striking out a lot. So the Indians lineup, if you just get through the first 4 hitters, you're really in business to get some Ks, some ground outs, and 4K. I'm well in play for a GPP flyer, maybe a GPP play to go with my Manaya, and I stack cores to go with that, and hope I get the right side and the right homers to go with it. I think I'm building a lineup as I speak in my head right now.
Yeah, I think someone like him, you're only looking for like 10 points.
Right.
10 points, you'd be pretty satisfied. I think,
I think he could get more. Yeah.
2.5 times his salary. I think you'd be pretty happy with that at that price. All right, we're going to move into, like 5 or 6 games here that we're going to target for hitters. And the first one is going to be the Minnesota Twins. Actually, a little bit discounted, but again, I think it might just be relative to like Coors and a couple other teams that are more expensive. But I do think the price tags on, the lefties like Kepler and Rosario are.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly where I was going to go. Trevor Williams loves hard contact to lefties. I mean, obviously you wouldn't leave out Cruz in a stack. Even Sano can hit some homers from time to time, but Rosario, Kepler, Polanco, Luis Arias, I can't pronounce his last name. Arise, yeah. Marwin Gonzalez, even some of those lefties in the bottom of the lineup, well in play, cheap, gonna help you fit some cash builds. So Twins definitely a stack I'm in on tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think even if you like mini stack like Kepler and Rosario, you could, in cash, you could definitely use 2 of those, and they obviously have the home run upside that you want in the hitters you are rostering. The next we're going to go to the Toronto and Atlanta game. Let's start on the Atlanta side first, against Ryu.
Oh yeah, this is a really good GPP stack for tomorrow. Looks like the Braves have completely figured it out. I think they've got over 10 runs tonight versus the Blue Jays. Acuna, he started off really cold, but he's really coming together. Freeman has been working his way back too. He's always a threat to go deep, even if it is against a lefty. I don't mind Freeman at all. Azuna's really hitting the ball really well. Looks like his prices come down a little bit, back to 4.4. That's what you want to see. Dansby Swanson's hitting second in the lineup. I know Albies is still cracking the lineup, but he hasn't been playing well. Austin Riley, guy that I love against lefties. So, yeah, a lot of good bats here for Atlanta. Going to be one of the best spots on the slate.
All right, let's turn it over to Toronto with Biggio and Bo. Newcomb, I know, struggled to even get – I know he's like last year. I think he ended the year as a reliever, long reliever, in the so he's kind of been all over the place in terms of like what his arm conditioning has been, and then I know he's got yanked pretty early when he starts walking some guys. So I think this is definitely a spot where you see like Biggio and Lords get on, and then that's a nice spot for someone like Guerrero to take a lefty deep.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The Toronto side is just as good. Vlad Guerrero can easily pop out too against Newcomb. Newcomb's going to walk a lot of guys. The lineup's going to turn over. I mean, this is going to be a game where both teams are going to get 5 at bats. So if you just run the numbers on that alone, you're going to have a high percentage of winning with the fact that each player is going to get 5 at bats. Biggio, Bo, I love it. Blue Jays, Braves, it's going to be one of the highest totals on the slate. It's going to be the best outside of Coors tomorrow.
All right, Toronto is a team to target. Next, we're going to go to the Cubbies here, facing off against is it Bubik or Bubik? I don't know how to. I don't know who. I don't know a lot about
Yeah,
him.
KC prospect Bubik. We'll just go with that.
All right.
Yeah, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber. You could play the hits here. I haven't really seen any value for the Cubs go off. Hap's always a threat to homer, but yeah, the top studs. You got no. If the wind's blowing out, or if the wind changes tomorrow and it starts to blow out. It looks like they're relatively expensive, but GPP stack for the Cubs. Don't hate it.
Schwarber finally got like more of an appropriate price tag rather than 5,700.
Yeah, that was something.
Isn't it funny though? You'll see those days where that happens, and then he actually like hits a bomb or something. Like,
Yeah, it's like the algorithm's like saying, "Hey, this guy's gonna hit a homer. That's why he's this price."
all right, the next one we're gonna go to is Coors Field, and let's just start on Colorado side first. Um, this pricing is probably the first time when I looked at this to see this many guys over 5,000. I mean, we're talking
Oh my
Ryan
God.
McMahon at 5,300. Now, I think they are figuring in Webb is a lot worse than Gosman, and Gosman actually, put up like 15 DK tonight. But wow,
Yeah.
I mean, when you go back to the pitching when we talked about TJ,
You'd
like,
have to play Anton and then the next closest I talked about to be
yeah, I
even
mean,
relatively close.
in a stacking format at least with these guys. So,
Right.
I mean, how do you decipher? Obviously, the lefties against the righty, but is there any other way that you like distinguish between Blackman, Story, Arenado, even Dahl? Dahl had a leadoff triple. I mean, I know we talked last night that, Story being at shortstop definitely usually just it makes it easier to fit into your lineup because that position is a lot harder to fill with value
Yeah.
at least. But what's your take here on the Colorado bats?
So I think Arenado is having a breakout series. I think Arenado would probably be my number one Colorado bat tomorrow. Uh, Story, I haven't really seen that upside that we like, and he's usually a hot and cold kind of hitter. But at like it's Colorado. Anytime one of these guys steps up to the plate, they're a threat to a homer in this ballpark. Webb is not that bad. Um, he's not a pitcher that's going to give up 7 runs, I don't think. But in Coors, you definitely can't rule it out. I think he had a really good start against what is that Texas. He got ran into some walks issues. So, but yeah, if he's walking guys, he's gonna give up some hard contact to lefties. Uh, I would say my favorite of all the group would probably be Arenado, and then the lefties. Story and shortstop, I'd probably be looking to punt and find my way around. Yeah, Matt Kemp. They still haven't gotten his price right. He's had a decent night tonight as well. I think the Colorado bats are, as always, firmly in play. Probably the better side tomorrow on the Coors slate. It's just going to be so tough to roster after seeing those salaries. My gosh.
So on the San Francisco side, you get Yastrzemski leading the pack at 5,800, and then we actually get more, depressed price tags here. So I do think you're going to see more ownership on this side. You might see the two studs from Colorado, and then people filling in more of their slots here. But I think,
Sure.
I don't know. I don't know that Flores will crack the lineup. Well, he might as a DH, but I don't like him as much against righties as I do against lefties. But
Correct.
I don't know. Pence didn't play tonight either. You got Brandon Belt still
No.
down there at 4,400 who'll bat in the 3-hole likely.
I expect Crawford to be a cash play over Story at his price. Even if 3,900, I believe Brandon Crawford was. It's Pablo Sandoval. Oh my gosh, I don't know about Pablo.
He hit fifth tonight.
Yeah, he hit fifth and he had a single to lead off the game. So I don't
But that was it. Nothing else after.
nothing else. And he probably
Don't be ready for like a stolen base or something like that.
No. Dickerson probably be my favorite point to play here at 48. Really good lefty, hits righties really well, profiles really well against that running two-seamer as Dickerson crowds the plate really well. I like him, and obviously I love, I'm president of the Yastrzemski fan club, so I have to I'll play Yastrzemski no matter what. I don't know about cash tomorrow, as I'm going to be trying to fit Matt Kemp, Nolan Arenado, and, probably Blackman and maybe possibly Dahl, as he looks like he's figuring it out. So might not have room for Yastrzemski tomorrow in cash, but definitely going to have a stack of Giants and a stack of Colorado. It's not an overthink course.
All right, let's move on to our next game we're going to talk about. We're just going to talk about the Dodgers side here quickly against Garrett Richards. Again, pretty high price tags, except Bellinger's 4,700, which is kind of surprising to me against a righty that he would be the fourth most expensive player. I know if you go on his form, it hasn't been all that good. Well, I mean, he's had a home run the last 2 games, but this year, he's only batting 159. But you got to think that that's going to bounce back.
Yeah, so I guess as I was reading about Mr. Bellinger, he had changed his swing heading into the year, and I thought that was interesting because he has such a unique swing and it's worked out so well in the majors. I wouldn't see why he'd want to change it, but he's made some tweaks in how he approaches the plate and his his pivot steps and things like that. A lot of times guys will come into the bigs with like a long step and they'll try to shorten their swings and stuff. So he's trying to lower his K numbers. But he's now missing contact on his bats. So I do like Bellinger at that price. I love all the lefties in this stack. I wouldn't say it's a must, but we get into the late slate. We got a lot of lower prices on the Dodgers. I don't hate it at all.
Yeah, I mean Jock Peterson 3,900 if he's leading off. That's a great play.
Muncy, I really like Muncy. He's one of my favorites on the Dodgers as always.
All right, we got 2 more games to go. We're going to look at Houston here against Robbie Ray. Some pretty high price tags on the top 3, but Correa, a really nice discount, especially I like when he hits more of that 4-5 spot in the order. When he gets to that 6-7, it's just, and then if, this price is a doable, but lately before that, he's priced at like 4,900, but he's batting 6 or 7. It's a little bit harder to swallow.
Right. Yeah. Correa's really hitting the ball pretty well too. I have a huge Astro stack going on right now. I'm probably going to go right back to the well tomorrow in the late slate. Probably going to have a stack for him on the main slate. Gurriel's got a couple hits tonight. He seems to be figuring it out, 4,100. You could easily fit him in your cash lineup with along, because like Belt and Daniel Murphy are struggling first basemen for the Rockies and the Giants. Gurriel's someone you can go to get Astros exposure along with the Coors bats and differentiate your cash lineups that way. Grab somebody in Houston like that, and you don't have to pay above $5K for some of the other big names. Houston, obviously in a big spot. George Springer loves hitting lefties. Robbie Ray's career is almost over.
All right, let's move on to LA, and then we will be done tonight. Mike Trout, 6,200. I think he even got a little bit of a price boost. I think he was 6K last night, coming off
at 62. Yeah,
62 again. Yeah, hits a bomb. But after that, the prices dive pretty quickly after him and Rendon.
Yeah, so I love the lefties and not the lefties. I love the lower price righties like Upton. Pujols hit another homer tonight. He's just like an immortal god of baseball god that just never stops. Joe Adele is a righty I like to talk about. Young prospect. I mentioned him on the video yesterday. It looks like he's making his major league debut tonight. We're obviously recording. I didn't get to see what he's done so far, but that's a young cheap righty going to face a lefty. I think that's a good spot to have. So I mean that Mr. Fletcher too. He's pretty relatively cheap, but some good Angels bats to talk about for a late slate tomorrow.
Good. Yeah, Upton continues to be cheap, but he's almost like a bait. You get baited into playing him, and then he doesn't do anything. But I think this is a spot against the lefty that's a really good spot to hit. So again, we appreciate you listening. Give it a like, give it a comment, share it out as much as possible, and we will continue to bring you free content. So continue to be on the lookout for MLB content and all of our other sports. Any final thoughts, TK, as we sign off?
Make sure you get your course bats in. Hopefully we can get out of this ballpark soon and get into some different hitting environments and some different baseball pricing. But enjoy everybody listening. Like always, like you said, please like and subscribe. And thanks for listening.
All right.